Welcome, fellow Biafrans, lovers of freedom across the world. I welcome you to this very platform, Biafra Exodus Hard Talk TV. Please like and share this program on all platforms. Share to family and friends. Make sure you get across to anyone that is close to you so that this information can get to those who need to hear us. In this platform, we bring information that has to do with the Biafran people. Information coming from the Prime Minister Mazi Nnamdi and updates that has to do with the restoration of independence of Biafra. On today's program, I am going to share with you a very important debate that was held in one of their conventional media. The discussion is mind-blowing and is a blockbuster. Pay attention to this very discussion. I believe me, after watching this program, you will learn a lot from it. Let us watch together and see what they had in stock for us. Let's watch. Simon
Ekpa responded to the Nigerian Army's call for Amnesty International and the International Criminal Court, ICC, to act against IPOB. Ekpa announced that a 35-page summary of human rights violation against Biafran people has been compiled, with over 500 pages set to be presented to the ICC. We have with us in the studio this morning to help x-ray this topic, we have Dr. Deji Omoshala, Doctor of Political Science. Good morning, Dr. Deji.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you in today's show. And right beside him is Barrister Asim Adams. He's also a legal practitioner and a social and political analyst. Good morning, Barrister Adams.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good to have you in today's show. We have IPOB back again on a radar on the table of discussion this morning. This is not the first time Nnamdi Kanu's health is deteriorating, and this is not the first time that Ima Powerful and Nnamdi Kanu's counsel have been talking about his, release. Barrister Adams, I would like to start with you as a legal...
Made for his release, he said no. That the judiciary made for his release, he said no. That the judiciary or the judicature, was going to, handle the issue. That whatever they say, that the government of the day will obey the ruling or judgment. Now, they went through gamut of trial, terrorism, etc. Even though we found out that those charges were defective, as it were, some were, removed or discharged, and new ones brought. Then, culminating all this, the Court of Appeal, said and gave a judgment that Nnamdi Kanu was illegally, extradited from Kenya to Nigeria and ordered for his immediate release. That was the Court of Appeal decision on that particular matter. So we were thinking that the moment the court ordered the release of, a suspect, that based on the fact that Section 336 of 5, says that every Nigerian that is accused of any offense, criminal for that matter, is presumed innocent until the contrary is proved. And in this particular case, the state could not prove the case against Nnamdi Kanu, and the Court of Appeal, in my own opinion, gave a very valid judgment and said, release this man. So I was thinking that for the sake of justice, equity and good conscience, that the young man would have been released almost immediately from, custody, at least to breathe the air of Nigerian freedom. But they kept him for another 14 days while trying to ferret for further evidences, to prosecute him and or appeal that particular judgment. Now, finally, they went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court found out, and they agreed that this young man was not rightfully, extradited from Kenya to Nigeria. And one of the reasons, which for me is an aberration in constitutional democracy, of which Nigeria belongs and we pledge, is that when you say that the rights of a Nigerian, could or can be suspended when there is issues of security, it means that the government will now have that rights allodial, albeit illegally, to detain a Nigerian man and suspend his fundamental human rights in the whole of Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, that he does not have any reason to draw from those rights. For me, it's an aberration. And at the end of the day, they said the the court, the matter should go back for retrial, at the lower court. Now, my problem is this. That is not a problem because it's a procedural thing. But for days and weeks also, the Supreme Court, even when the lawyers to Nnamdi Kanu made the application for the CTC of that particular Supreme Court judgment, I'm telling you that the registrar of court covertly, overtly, intentionally, on purpose, I don't know why, they delayed, releasing the certified true copy of, the judgment or ruling of that particular court. For me, that is not the standard when you talk about justice. So now, on the plank and periscoping, what I'm trying to say is that look at what is going on right now. Even in murder cases, because what they are charging Nnamdi Kanu for is terrorism and whatever treason or whatever the case may be. The highest, offense in the land is murder. And when lawyers, go before the court and even in a murder case and say, look, we have on evidence this suspect is in your own cell or whatever the case may be. Use your doctors. Come and check if he has terminal illnesses, etc. as the case may be. On that ground alone, if it's found that this particular suspect is in this one has been set free forever, bail means temporary, freedom for him to breathe on Nigeria or freedom, as case may be. So we look at this whole procedure for me is not sweating.
All right.
And
well, we must,
I don't really understand the peaceful side about it.
Barrister Adams, for that overview of everything. Really do appreciate that one.
Thank you.
Dr. Omoshola, I've asked this question before, and I'm going to ask you now. The things playing out in the Southeast, the activities of Simon Ekpa, the continued incarceration, don't you think, or some people are of the opinion, rather, let me put it this way, some people are of the opinion that the continued activities of Simon Ekpa is making it difficult for the Nigerian government to finalize its accusations, allegations on the man Nnamdi Kanu and set him free. Do you share this opinion? If not, what's your opinion?
Well, first, let's establish some basic facts. When you were introducing this topic, a lot was going on in my mind. And some of the things going on in my mind is, first, the man Nnamdi Kanu, he's been in this detention for years. So first, I was thinking that, could he be sick truly? Then I was beginning to imagine if you put a man in solitary confinement for that long, a man that, if you look at the personality of Nnamdi Kanu, an outspoken guy, a man that likes government. So you now look at it that those that are in prison, that are not even regarded as the enemies of Nigeria, what kind of condition are they being subjected to? So when you establish that, you now look at it that if you are now being seen or presumed as an enemy of Nigeria, you can now imagine the kind of condition that you will be subjected to. For instance, if you look at ordinary NYSC, which I know most of us have passed through, our corpers, graduates, the condition they are subjected to in some of those camps makes you imagine what prison will be like. And like I said, those that are not enemies of the state and Nnamdi Kanu that is perceived by the Nigerian state as its enemy. Now to Simon Ekpa. What first comes to mind is this man Simon Ekpa, right? They are trying to fight for the restoration of Biafra. And the first thing that should come to mind is it's either the ideology of Biafra is so strong that it has refused to die, or the Nigerian state has acted so unjustly that the soul of Biafra keeps rising. Because if you look at it, when this Biafra occurred, looking at Simon Ekpa, you may want to ask yourself that, how old was Simon Ekpa when this Biafra war, when it occurred? Between 1967 to 1970, how old was Simon Ekpa? Even if you look at Nnamdi Kanu, you want to ask yourself that, how old is this man when this thing occurred? So for this issue to have come out strong till this present day, it means that something is fundamentally wrong as a country, that perhaps should we begin to investigate whether the injustice of Nigerian government has failed to bury the ideology of Biafra? Because if you look at the country, it is a marriage, and anything that pertains to ideology doesn't die quick. In fact, if it remains just one person, the thing will naturally resurrect again, because Biafra has moved away from being a wish. It has moved away from, first it was an expression, then it becomes a wish. You can go to the realm of strong wish before it becomes an ideology. And for something to become an ideology, that means that it has been embraced over time. So the thing is, the attitude of Simon Ekpa in this case, I believe that you cannot sell when there's no market, right? You cannot sell when there's no market. So if Simon Ekpa is thriving, the Nigerian state, first of all, needs to look at it that first, do we want the Igbo community amongst us? Are they the kind of people that we want in the committee of states that forms Nigeria? If yes, you cannot be in a marriage and there will be a kind of like non-fair play. For you to be part of a match, the first thing is you want to look at it, oh, I will be able to get a fair deal in this match, that if I score a goal, it will be counted as offside, right? So the thing is, you need to look at it first. When you now look at it, that means that by addressing some of the core issues that have made Biafra an ideology, you are naturally demarketing Simon Ekpa. But when your actions, when your attitude speaks to, for instance, how does Simon Ekpa when this Biafra something happened? And now let us look at it that Simon Ekpa,
born at that time.
yes, now Simon Ekpa is growing old. Let us look at the kids of nowadays, those in primary school, secondary school, and we look at them now. What is happening? What are we building in them? Are we building this particular perspective that, oh, there is really an injustice? Because in a Nigerian country whereby bandits are being bribed, bandits are being given, treatment that the ordinary legitimate citizen are not being given. Okay. In a country whereby terrorists are being pardoned, you now ask yourself
Sorry, please. Okay. Now that you mentioned that, let me just draw a comparison now between Nnamdi Kanu's issue and that of Sunday Igboho. Help me understand a possible difference that would make one, one is let off the hook and the other still in detention.
Well, the thing is, if I look at the issue of Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho,
in comparison,
they have, to my mind, more similarities than differences. In the sense that, let us look at the major thing that Sunday Igboho is asking for. Sunday Igboho is asking for a Yoruba nation, which is a secession of the people of Yoruba origin and culture from the corporate existence of Nigeria. What is Nnamdi Kanu asking for? Nnamdi Kanu is asking for restoration of Biafra, which is an extraction of the Igbo corporate existence from Nigeria as it is presently constituted. That is a similarity, right? Now, if you look at it from that perspective, which is the kind of like the biggest crime. If you accuse, for instance, if you accuse you, let us just, see it as a sane issue. Let us just, see it as a sane country, right? So if that statement is anything to go by, you see that firearms has been displayed against Sunday Igboho. So that's why I said that there are more similarities than differences. So you now imagine that, and that is one of the things I felt that the president should have tried to address, especially because of the kind of support that the Igbo clan has tried to show during this.
So why would one be let off the hook and the other is still in detention? Was it as a result of you know, a clamor by fellow kinsmen or lack of that?
Well, the thing is, I think it is largely based on interest. I think it is based on the interest
right now.
No, the interest of the Nigerian government itself. I think, for instance, if I see you as a greater threat than her, then I may want to consider that, okay, should I release her and still leave you or still watch you? Then another thing is, sorry, this is very important. If you look at, you can't erase the kind of like advocacy that is being brought forward by the key leaders in the Southeast. For instance, when the election was being held, right, election is a kind of like a give and take exercise, a quid pro quo kind of thing. So what was the negotiation of leaders of the Southeast? What was the commitment that they were deriving from the candidate of the APC and PDP at that time? So if not much advocacy is being done for him, for instance, the Sunday Igboho issue, you see Yoruba traditional rulers, monarchs, even politicians, professors that are kind of like advocating for him that, oh, the injustice that was meted out, the kind of like anthrocentricism, nepotism that was meted out during the Buhari administration was what led this guy that naturally, if you are not a bastard, if you see your people being killed and you see something that you can do to save your people, there's no way you can just fold your arms and see your ancestral land being taken. So
one hand
you won't compare the kind of like advocacy that helped Sunday Igboho. You won't compare it to that of Nnamdi Kanu. And I must say something. That Sunday Igboho appears to be a little bit, you know, he knows how to play a little bit of hide and seek than Nnamdi Kanu. That is one thing I discovered.
Okay.
Yes. Now, Sunday Igboho, he knows that some of these Yoruba leaders are complicit in some of the things that are happening. But when he goes to their palace, he will still prostrate. You know, he did not detach himself from the leadership culture, one. Then the leadership class. He didn't detach himself from them. He will say, oh, Baba mi Ladoja, Baba mi Oba Kinikon, which means that my father Ladoja, my father the king of something. So he didn't detach himself from that existing political class. Okay. But if you look at that of Nnamdi Kanu, he sometimes detach himself from the existing political. For instance, one of the things you can do to get the wrath of Nigerian politicians is if you begin to talk about politics and act politically in such a way that it doesn't favor them. For instance, if you are saying there will be no election, you begin to kind of like go into their battle because to them, election is an oxygen in nostrils. Power is something that they don't joke with. But on the part of Sunday Igboho, he didn't detach himself from that existing political class, and that is what led some of them to kind of like advocate for him, and that's what I think Nnamdi Kanu is somehow like.
Barrister Adams.
1 minute. Barrister Adams, let me come to you on this. In your intro, you said something about, you always made reference to extradition of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya. As a legal practitioner, I want you to make sense of it to Nigerians. What is the difference between extradition and rendition? Because from my layman's knowledge, I think they are two different things.
Thank you. Now, extradition is one, when you have a synergy between two countries, first of all, like Kenya and Nigeria should have, you know, a pact or treaty that if a criminal from Kenya enters Nigeria and we, the Kenya people, need that particular criminal to face trial in Kenya, that we will contact your government. You understand the point now? Following your local laws here, perfect it, and take that particular person, you know, down to Kenya for us. Extraordinary rendition is this. You didn't follow those protocols.
Okay.
You didn't, you know, contact the AG of the Federation of Kenya. You did not even contact maybe the DSS of that particular country. Then you now entered that Kenya with mercenaries to now begin to track that criminal, Nigerian criminal as we call him. Then you got him somewhere and abducted him, just like kidnapping.
Okay.
That was why you see in the Umaru Diko affair, what happened was this. the British government, if they had a pact with Nigeria or treaty with Nigeria for repatriation of criminals, etc., extraditing criminals between both countries, what would have happened is that Umar wouldn't have been put in a crate and brought to Nigeria. What would have happened is that the British government would have, worked in synergy with Nigeria, track Umar with their police, whatever, and bring him down to Nigeria here.
So that's what I wanted us to establish, so that people out there will understand that Nnamdi Kanu was not extradited, that he was rendition, which is an illegality. And the courts in Nigeria have said